buckle up. If it weren't for these strong upper level winds, it probably would already be a Category 2 hurricane by now because of the way it's because of how warm the waters are.
How
However,
many frames are we looking at there? It was like barely moving.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there were a bunch of frames there. Like 20
right, like
or
time is
something.
passing, but the storm's not moving.
Right. Yeah, this is from the University of Wisconsin, and yeah, there's about 20 frames in there. They're each one of them's 10 minutes apart. There, you can see the timestamp up there. Well, I guess you can't because you're zoomed
Not
in.
if I zoomed it in.
That starts at 21Z. It ends at 0050Z. So that's like almost 4 hours, something like 4 hours there. So, and no, it doesn't move very much because it's only moving at like 4 miles an hour. So it's barely moving at all. By Saturday, it will, and when it does, kaboom! It's going to intensify and become a major hurricane by Sunday midday or afternoon. Because, well, that's a picture of the plot of the wind shear. I've already discussed that. It's pretty strong, but it's going to weaken. And Melissa's over some really, really warm waters. And like I said, that's the only thing that's holding it in check is that wind shear. Once the wind shear relaxes, it's likely to consolidate and intensify pretty quickly. Now, this is the sea surface temperature plotted with Melissa's track plotted over it. And the scale here runs from 26 degrees Celsius, which is 79 degrees Fahrenheit, to 32 degrees Celsius, which is a hair short of 90 Fahrenheit. So you can see the Melissa's over some of the warmest waters there. But not only that, the warm waters are very deep. And if I change the plot to show tropical cyclone heat potential, which I should move the forecast track on top there so you can actually see it. There, that's going to look a little better. So, not only do we have very warm sea surface temperatures, that warmth extends to considerable depth. So, in general, there's a lot of energy, just a vast amount available there in the waters of the Caribbean Sea, and so there's a very high ceiling on how strong Melissa can get once that shear relaxes. Especially with it moving toward these two little centers of extremely high ocean heat content. So even though it's moving slowly, so even though Melissa's moving slowly, those waters warmth is found at considerable depth, and even though Melissa's going to churn the water up, it's so warm to such significant depth that's not just because it's going to churn the water up doesn't mean it's going to result in the sea surface temperatures dropping all that much. So these waters are capable of sustaining a major hurricane, even a slow-moving one. And that's the reason why the ceiling is so high for Melissa with intensity, and why we're seeing some of the models just going with some ridiculously intense forecasts for Melissa. And if they were to verify, they would be setting records. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're concerned about two things. First, how strong Melissa gets, and the other is exactly where it's going to go. Now, there's the official Hurricane Center forecast you see plotted there. That goes out to Monday, and Monday it's still over the Western Caribbean Sea and over hot water. But where does it go from there? Well, it depends on which model you believe. The GFS says it stays way out to sea. It's not a concern. You can see it there going over Jamaica and Cuba, and then just staying out over the Atlantic and staying far away from us. I wish that this was working better than it is. There's the European model. Let's look at that. Yeah, it is really bright. Anyway, European model, let's use the buttons instead. And European model, when it finally does bring it out of the Caribbean Sea, it's a little further west, goes more over Cuba, close to Guantanamo Bay, but then it stays out to sea. And that's pretty much what all the models are showing. But we could suppose the Canadian model, it's showing a Sandy-like solution by pulling it back.
Can you play that one more time? It was a little cut off on our screen. Can you play Canada again?
Okay, there he goes. There it is. A little further west, coming over Cuba, then going over the Bahamas, and then getting caught by a storm and pulled into New York City. How about that? The Canadian model, the operational Canadian model, is the only model showing this kind of thing happening. So let's take it with a very large grain of salt and say it probably won't happen. So we don't want another Sandy, so let's hope it doesn't. But there is one model showing that. Now, other track guidance, here's the hurricane-specific models, and this is hot off the presses, the 0Z run. And again, they're showing a pretty wide spread, but mostly showing Melissa going over or just west of Jamaica and then over Cuba and then the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos and then out toward Bermuda. The latest GFS ensemble shows essentially the same thing. European model is a little bit further west, but not much different than that. Unfortunately, I don't have a plot of the Euro handy. Here's Google's DeepMind, and this is a model that's been doing pretty well with tropical cyclones this year. Now, unfortunately, I don't know what's going on. The latest run we have is a 6Z run from early this morning, and you can see the various spread of computer models. They're basically in two camps. This ensemble, some of the tracks go toward Haiti and stays relatively weak, maybe reaching hurricane intensity, but the rest show it going more to the west and staying and getting really intense. Category 5, most of the ones that show a more westward track over or west of Jamaica show it getting to Category 5 before turning north and going toward Cuba. You can see there's one ensemble member from Google DeepMind that takes it into North Carolina. So the odds of that happening are really low, but hey, there's one model showing it. There's another one showing it going into Rhode Island eventually as a hurricane. But again, those solutions seem pretty unlikely. However, we do have it. We are going to have an upper level trough over the eastern part of the country, and we're not really sure exactly how the weather pattern is going to shape up. 8 or 9 days from now, when Melissa finally does come out of the Caribbean Sea. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it, even though it looks like the odds favor it staying off the East Coast and not impacting the East Coast directly, including us here in the Carolinas. Of course, rough surf and dangerous marine conditions will be likely once it does come out over the Atlantic from the swells the storm will generate. But hopefully, we won't be dealing with a hurricane impact somewhere along the East Coast. And at least that's the way it looks right now.
Yeah, we can get this back out to sea. I mean, unfortunately, one of those islands down there is going to take a beating from this rapidly intensifying storm as it looks to get its act there, Frank, over the next couple of days. Slow moving now, but it's going to be a monster.
Yeah. Unless it just goes straight toward Haiti and ends up being on the relatively weak side, as some of these computer models have been showing. If it ends up doing that, then maybe it's not the end of the world, just except for Haiti, which they get a hurricane and they don't handle hurricanes very well there. But there'd be a lot of rain in Jamaica, then that would cause some life-threatening flooding and landslides and things like that. And Haiti might be dealing with the same thing, even if it stayed relatively weak. And the Dominican Republic too, probably. But it would be probably the best case scenario overall, because if it ended up going further west, then it's a major hurricane for Jamaica and Cuba and the Caymans and maybe the Bahamas as well. And it still could be a hurricane when it got to Bermuda.
Yeah, Tim Buckley tweeted this map today, kind of the steering currents. You were just walking us through all these different scenarios the model runs, trying to figure out exactly how Melissa's going to slip between the low over the east coast of the United States, the high out over Bermuda.